pjnet.tv. It's 9 p.m., 9:01 on the East Coast, and our bumper is running. We have a first-time guest that's returning, so that's even better. Standing by in our green room. We're running our bumper and streaming, chat room waiting. We're going to count it down to, if I can find my mouse, Studio 13. Starting now. Well, good evening, folks. Welcome. This is pjnet.tv. I'm Coach Prasick, and let me just warn you. Our next guest, our next guest is needs no warning, but we are winging it. We are really winging it. And so I'm going to be a little bit busy while she's talking because I have something that we want to share, and I won't go into that. Not long ago, Howie's Broken Hee-Haw, we had Josie Siler telling us about her upcoming book. Well, her upcoming book is now her book. And she comes to us from her home in, I believe you said, up north somewhere, north of the Mason-Dixon line. Josie is back with us tonight, and I think, why did I have you come back? Was it the Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers Conference?
Yep.
I'm just kidding. You're always welcome, Josie. We'd love to hear from you. I want to talk about I want you to share some of the experiences of the conference because we've had others do that here, and I'm always excited to hear about it. But there are so many people that want to go that can't for a variety of reasons, or maybe they have gone but they didn't go this year. Have you been to that Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers Conference more than once, or is this your first time?
This is my third time in person. I went in 2015 and 2017. I am from up north, so it's quite the expense to get all the way. All the way to the conference and all of that. So, third time in person.
Okay. So, just share your experience. How did it compare? If there's I guess what I'm trying to get to is people that have debated about going, and like yourself, it's just so far away, and they don't know. If there's anything that might persuade them to go, if you have some experience, persuade them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. This year, every year is different. I think some of your other guests have spoke on that as well. Every year you go is a little bit different. You have different experiences. You're in a different place in your writing journey. And this year, I felt like God was calling me to really connect with people. That was the word I kept hearing over and over in my head, was connection. And so here's my secret. I didn't actually attend a single class at Blue Ridge this year. I skipped every single one of them. And I just hung out with people. And it was so much fun. I had an amazing time because when you go to a conference, you don't get that in-person connection anywhere else than if you're there in person. And so I've done virtual conferences, which are great. You can learn anything about anything online these days. But all of those connections that you make in person, that can only happen when you're at a writer's conference. And so that's what I focused on this time. I went to the coffee shop. I hung out on Rocking Chair Row. I talked with people the entire conference. And this introvert, I am very, very much an introvert. I extroverted for a whole week, and it was so much fun, and I was exhausted afterwards, but it was great. So that's why I would say to come to a conference, because you don't get those experiences any other way. And a lot of times when you are in the writing world, a lot of your opportunities come from people you know, and they come from those personal connections. And going to an in-person conference is a great way to get those.
Okay. We are improvising.
Did I talk long enough?
Thank you. You wouldn't believe it. I actually downloaded the new image. I had an old one, but I downloaded it. I overwrote the file with the same name. So when I brought the file into the studio, it was the old image, not the new one. So I had to rename anyway. This is wild. So classes take up quite a bit of the conference.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of hours, I would imagine, to just hang out. But everybody's in the classes, aren't they? Who were you hanging out with?
Well, not everybody. There were a few other people who skip like me. Sometimes people just need to skip one class, take a break, kind of download some of the information that they've been learning. Other people have learned this same secret that's where the gold is in those personal conversations. And so they were also hanging out in the coffee shop and around campus. And so it was really fun. I also met with editors and agents. That's part of your conference experience as well. And so I had several of those conversations, and it was great.
Well, that's we haven't heard a report like that one.
I'm telling you all my secrets.
But that's interesting because, well, I actually was going to go 2 years ago. And the reason I was going to go is I was invited by somebody who was going and had a room. And they said, look, you can bunk with me if you want to. And that's, oh, gosh. I can't mute this mic. This mic doesn't have a mute button. My other one does. I was going to do what you were going to do, is just hang out and meet people because I'm not a writer. But yet I could meet so many people. But it turns out, or maybe that was last year when it kind of got, COVID kind of tore it up or something. But it's, well, I think that's testimony to the fact that it's worth it. I mean, there's so much, the classes, the one-on-ones. But even if the classes weren't great, or there wasn't a class that interested you, even if you didn't do a one-on-one, it was worth it to Josie Siler just to go and hang out with so many wonderful people. So how many new people did you meet?
Oh, a lot. It was really fun to catch up with people that I had met at previous conferences. I met several people in real life who I have met through online writing groups. That was really fun. And I met a lot of people who were brand new that I'd never met before online or in person. And so, yeah, it was really fun.
Well, pick one and tell us about a new friend you made.
Okay, I'm going to look this up so I get her last name correct so that I can tell you. Her first name is Valerie. Her last name is Fentress, Fentress. And she has a book that came out just about the same time that Howie's Broken Hee-Haw came out. And it was really fun because they were battling each other on the Amazon charts. And we were kind of watching it, and her Easter book would be ahead, and then my Howie book would be ahead, and it just kept going back and forth. And she was at the conference, so we got to meet each other in person and take a picture with our books, and that was just really fun to get to know another picture book writer who we had kind of heard of each other. We're friends on Instagram, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was great. That was a really fun experience.
Well, that sounds, and I know there were more. I keep hearing about this coffee shop. Did you drink some coffee?
I did. Cloud's Coffee Shop. I have been looking forward to that since 2017 when I was last there. It's good coffee. It's a cute coffee shop. The coffee's really good there.
That's great. Okay. Well, now, did you take your camera? I shouldn't even have to ask that question, but you did.
I did, but do you know what? I didn't take a single picture on my fancy camera that I brought along. I took a couple pictures just of people on my cell phone, but I didn't because I was busy talking to people the whole time. I was planning on kind of wandering the campus and getting some pictures, and I talked to people.
I find that hard to believe.
And it was great. I know, I do too. I couldn't believe it myself. But I did take some pictures on the way home. But yeah, that was all I did there.
I kind of know about how much a professional camera costs. We have some. And you lug that along and take what, one picture? Okay. Well, I guess that is testimony to just how much fun you were having
That
because
is true. That is true. It was great. And the other thing I will mention is that I did get the recordings from the classes. So I
okay.
fully intend on listening to them and learning later. In the first couple years, I went to the classes and I just felt that my time was well spent with people this time. But I got the recording so I can learn too.
Um, I'm just looking at the clock, and time is really. I'm having a good. You're easy to talk to, Jess. Let me put Howie's Broken Hee-Haw back up here because the reason that I remember the title to that without researching is when you introduced that book, your book launch team did a fantastic job of putting that out there, and I didn't know, but I'm gonna take this off because it's blurry. It's kind of covering you up. I didn't know, but I just kind of I felt pretty sure that someone is managing this. It's not that I don't have faith in your competence and capabilities, but I knew that somebody probably did this, helped you with this, and it turns out Karen Sargent.
Yep. Yep. And she did an amazing job. She did so many things that I didn't even know needed to be done. And she ran things because I never realized how busy a book launch is and how much there is to do. And so it was really great having somebody who knew what they were doing to manage the group and to help me organize everything. And yeah, she did a fantastic job. And I hope that she is available whenever my second book comes out.
Speaking of that, her availability, it's not like you can just call her up on the phone and let's get to work.
Right. She is a busy gal and she is in high demand. So if you would like her to do your book launch, which I highly recommend, I would talk to her as soon as possible.
Yeah. This is not a paid endorsement, folks.
It is not.
But I have had several of her clients on our program, and they just ooze out. And I can tell just by watching their presence on social media. And if somebody is thinking, well, I've got a book, a lot of times they don't know about all the hurdles that they have to jump. All they know is that they felt inspired by God to write a book, and they wrote it, and now they realize that's not enough.
Right.
What are some of that's one hurdle, a book launch. What are some reasons to not do it yourself, even though you might be able to?
My publisher, Victoria Durstock, talks all the time about ROI. What's your return on investment? And that's something that she really drilled into our heads when we were taking, I took her Building Platform 101 course.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really helpful. And that's one thing that she taught us well, is to look at what we're putting into it and what we're getting out of it. And for me, hiring someone to do the book launch is a really good return on my investment because, like I said, there were a lot of things that I didn't even know I needed to do. And there's a lot of busy work. There's a lot of, just keeping track of your launch team members, consistently posting in the group, keeping an eye on your Amazon numbers, all of these things that you need to do, while at the same time you're doing in-person book signings and you're doing interviews and all of this. It's a lot on your plate at once, and having someone to lead that takes a huge portion of that off your plate, and so it's well worth the investment in my opinion.
Well, and I'm going to echo those sentiments in a different way because I do cover reveals and book launch or book trailers,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell clients or potential clients that if you think that the investment you make in this is going to quote, they're going to do the math in their head. How many books do I have to sell to pay for these services? If you look at it that way, it's not likely that you can be able to say this is just a direct cash cow. If I spend this money, I'm going to sell
Mm-hmm.
more books. But I can say two things. One is, when your book first comes out, that moment, you've got to seize it. You've got to. That moment will not happen again. There will never be more excitement about your book. normally.
Right.
If you don't seize that moment, it has slipped away, and you will lose. If you try to do the same thing later, you won't likely get much out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got to seize the moment. Number two, if you're in this as serious as many people are, and you plan to do more stuff in the future, it seems to me that you've got to sell the publisher on how good you are at marketing books.
Yes, absolutely.
And a book launch like Howie's Broken Hee-Haw, I think, is something that would get the attention. Publishers can't publish everything that's submitted to them. So it's got some intangible but very
Mm-hmm.
real benefits
Yes.
to letting someone do it who has experience, who is a professional, who has experience doing these things and knows more about it. But even when I talked to Karen, she's been on our program. She said, if a client contacts me and they want to do it themselves, I give them pointers and tips.
Mm-hmm.
What a sweet spirit, that
Yeah, yeah, she's
that's
awesome.
she's all class. Um, well, of course, it would be wrong not to mention, folks. Josie is a incredibly talented photographer, and I downloaded this picture from Shutterstock. And this is why is this a good? No, I did not download. Josie,
I should put it on there. Maybe I can get some money.
well, yeah. What's tell us there? There's a story here, I presume.
There is. This is one of our bluebirds, and I'm going to try to make a very long story short. But when I was living in a house a couple miles from where I currently live with my parents, I had this bluebird couple who would come and visit my windows. And they would come and they would peck on my windows. They would fly up and down. They would sit on the window ledge, follow me from room to room. Like, it was crazy. But during that time in my life, my health was not good. I was in some pretty nasty flare-ups, and it was just a really hard time. And so having these bluebird visitors come and visit me was awesome. And it was just like a little gift from God that, he sent me these little birds to cheer me up, and to one of them pecked on my window until I woke up for Easter morning. I remember that. It was the first time they had ever pecked on my bedroom window. And I really wanted to go to church that morning, and I was not feeling well. And this bluebird came and pecked on the window until I got out of bed. It was great. I made it to church. And so now that I'm back at my parents' house, because, again, a health flare up, and long story short, anyway, I am living with my parents, and we have this bluebird couple who has started coming to the windows. And I thought, oh, this is so weird. I wonder if it's the same bluebirds. And then last year we didn't have any at all. And it's weird for us. We have bluebird houses. And we had found out that a lot of bluebirds in our area, they go south. And during the previous winter, there was a lot of ice, there was a lot of snow, there was a lot of just bad weather down south, and a lot of them died off. And so we didn't have any last year. And we thought that this year was going to be similar because we hadn't seen any bluebirds. And while I was at Blue Ridge, the bluebirds came back. And my parents texted me a picture of a bluebird and said, "Look who came back finally." And they were at the windows again. And so when I came back, there they were, sure enough, pecking at the windows. And we had just cut some peonies and put them in the window. And this little bluebird kept coming up to the window. And I don't know why it was opening its mouth super far, and it was so strange, but it was the cutest little thing. And so I grabbed my camera, my real camera, and I took some pictures of this bluebird that kept coming to the window. This was just a couple weeks ago, and it was just the cutest little thing. And it looks like it's in awe of how beautiful the peonies are.
Yeah, well, and
So
looking at this, folks,
that's my special bluebirds.
for those of you that are not photography experts, which I would include myself in that category, but I do know this: taking photography with glass in the and through glass, or even with glass in the background,
Mm-hmm.
the Fresnel and anisotropic characteristics of glass are challenging. Well, I hope you thanked God for the bluebirds, because it sounds like He sent them. If
Yes, I
bluebirds,
feel like they're a gift from him.
yeah, if we see them around here, we run them off because they're natural enemies of hummingbirds.
Ah, well, we have
And
those too, so they are apparently
well,
are
that's
getting
what they
along.
eat. So my wife, well, we've run out of time. I need to put your website up on the screen. There's so much more we talk about, but there is josiesiler.com. And we couldn't talk about everything in Josie's life, but if you want to find out more about Josie, her life, her work, her ministry, there's the way to find her. Gosh, Josie, 22 minutes. We're running overtime. Time goes so
That went
quickly.
fast.
You're so easy to talk to, and thank you for sharing with us tonight your experiences, and thank you for touching our heart with the beautiful bluebirds that, no doubt in my mind, God sent those your way to comfort you and remind you of His ever presence in our life. And what a touching story. Josie, let's not spend so much time before we get back together again. Thank you, and
Sounds good.
appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Thank you, Mark.
Wow, the bluebirds. I didn't know that was coming. I wondered, she sent me that, and it's like, what? I don't get it. All right, well, gosh, I am so excited. I have some news. I normally don't make announcements, and we are running late. So I'm just going to say it real quick. I'm going to the Well Creatives Conference in Michigan, April of 2023, as faculty. I am blown away. I am blown away. There'll be plenty of time to talk about it between now and then. In just a few minutes, we have our second guest for this evening, Jake McCandless. Well, we're stopping in, and while we wait on him and get everything reassembled, torn down and reassembled, I will share two questions that I ask myself, these questions, and they benefit me. I hope they'll benefit you if you will answer yourself candidly. First, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Second, when was that? And the challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.